Ocean's 11 is just stressful to just not look like a dickhead in front of George Clooney. Hi, I'm Joshua Jackson, and this is my stress test. First off, the Mighty Ducks, yeah, so God bless being young, because you don't really know that you're in way over your head while you're doing all of this stuff. But I think the most stressful stretch of this was at the end of the first movie, there's a game that requires this move called the triple deke. Because I was a young boy and I really loved playing hockey, I had decided that I wanted to play with all the big kids on camera, and I got my shoulders separated the week before I was supposed to do the triple deke. So, the stress of that was learning how to manage pain while 5,000 people are watching you, and you have to do it on camera over and over again. Lesson learned, don't play with the big kids. I was 13 when we shot the first one. There was so much about this that was, everything about it was a learning process. I can't remember what the exact scene was, but I was in a scene with Emilio, and, I had just started learning how to learn lines. So I would learn his lines too, so I would know when to say my lines. And I guess when he was talking, I was mouthing his words. Because I didn't know any better. And after a couple takes, he's like, hey, don't do that. I talk, you talk. I talk, you talk. That's how it goes. You don't talk both sides. I wasn't on Cruel Intentions very much, but I do believe that my first day on this movie was giving a man head. And that can be stressful for a 19-year-old heterosexual boy to sit in a room and give another man a blowjob. So my stress test on this was to commit myself to this job that I had taken on and really make sure that I was all in, so to speak. So then years pass, and I don't see Eric for a long time after we've had this experience together. And I am taking out my trash one day, and he and his wife walk by because they've just moved in down the street. She sees us see each other and have this moment of like, hey, what's up? She's like, oh, how do you guys know each other? And two of us now well into our 30s, I think both blushed scarlet red. Like, how do you explain what that connection was? So for Dawsons Creek, and this is something that I always try to explain to young actors, particularly when they're getting ready to start working on a television show. The thing that you don't know, that I didn't know, that is actually so difficult about that process, it's that you have to be ready to go essentially on take one every single day for 14 hours a day for 8-9 months. In the modern era, more 7-8 months. And so the stress test for this was to make sure that you maintained your quality from episode 1 to episode 100. And we did that in concert with each other. I think it gets very easy to get lazy or take shortcuts, but we were all a bunch of young actors there, and we all cared about what we were doing, and we made sure that everyone consistently brought their A game. But it is difficult to maintain that level of just mental focus, even over and above any of the emotional demands of just learning 10 pages of dialogue a day, coming back tomorrow, learning 10 pages of dialogue, next day 10 pages of dialogue, and you got to do it when you're sick, and you got to do it when you're tired, and there are no days off. So that's the stress test of working on a long-running show. Karate Kid was a no-stress job. One, it's funny to be the old guy on set. This is a new world for me. I've gone from being the kid to having the kids. My job on Karate Kid was to give energy to the young actors, particularly to Ben, who is playing the new Karate Kid. And he is a lovely dude and incredibly dedicated and was working his ass off. So we trained together and we got to know each other a little bit, but this one was a no-stress job for me. This was very easy. The Affair. So sex scenes are hard, and you are in an environment that is, unless you have a very particular kink, very unsexy. And you are putting a woman's body into a uncomfortable and sometimes physically exposed place. The stress of this is always to make sure that you have open communication. So you need to make sure that you are a good partner to the woman in that scene. And so the stress test for this is because we were pushing the envelope quite often in what the power dynamics were inside of these sexual relationships, like to make sure that your partner always feels, no matter what it is that you're doing on camera, that they're safe and secure in your hands. Dr. Odyssey was stressful because of what was happening in every other aspect of my life, but I haven't got a chance to play a lot of these like Clooney characters yet. And it was so much fun to be working on a show where the point of the show was fun. I will say, having my house burned down in the middle of the season, not great, and trying to maintain being a dad, getting everything sorted, being a leader on set, and just remembering your words, that was quite stressful. So I think I'm a little grayer at the end of the season than I was when I started out. Doctor Death. So there is a certain amount of stress that goes into telling a true story. But for this one in specific, there was a makeup process that we used towards the end of the season. And the process itself took 6 hours. And then you go to work. We were the first or second show to shoot in New York post first wave of COVID. We had all these rules about isolation and separate the crew out. But once you're in the prosthetic, you can't put a mask on. So there's that exposure. And then I sit there, and the portion of the story that's being told is as his victims recount what he's done to them. So I would sit in this suit, in all of this weight and prosthetic, and for like another 6-8 hours a day, just listen to the horrors that I had visited upon these bodies. So psychologically, that was pretty stressful. Ocean's 11 is just stressful to just not look like a dickhead in front of George Clooney. To be invited, literally invited to the table at Ocean's 11 as a young actor to like sit with the guys and do the thing was cool and definitely very stressful. Thank you for watching. That was my stress test. We're doing okay.